three matters: the anti-corruption bill, assistance to the protection of victims of crime and witness bill, and the Civil Procedure Code Amendment bills. These are amendments and bills, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, that ought to be looked at uncontroversially. Sri Lanka as a country has its reputation down in the doldrums precisely because of, number one, because of corruption, and number two, because the judicial system itself is seen as unsafe, is heavily politicized, and is prone to interference from the executive to a point where the notions of separation of powers, the notion of independence of the judiciary, the notion of a fair trial, all of these concepts are called into question. So with the very foundations of the justice system in the country being questioned and its legitimacy being severely tainted, that along with the reputation that primarily members of this House and members who belong to parties who are represented in this House being accused of grave charges of corruption, most of which in fact we all know are true, then the fact that any law that is brought with the intention of trying to curb these, obviously in principle must not be opposed, and if at all must be supported. But the question is, Honourable Presiding Member, when we are debating this, when we are debating these bills, whether there has been ultimately a change in the culture of this country. Because there have been laws previously as well. And the whole point as to why we are in this position of being totally discredited, being the laughingstock of the world at large, is precisely because of the culture that we perceive. Everything that is done in this House and outside is merely a box-ticking exercise to try and demonstrate to the world in some way that we merely qualify for democracy. That's it. Nothing goes beyond that. Everything else is just a pack of cards. There is nothing inside. It's hollow. Because it's window dressing. It's playing to the gallery. It's simply an exercise of ticking the box. And until that culture changes, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, my view is that all these laws will remain mere academic exercises and will just remain hollow promises. Now, if you take, for example, Honourable Deputy Chairman of Committees, the UN Human Rights Council sessions have just commenced. The High Commissioner, in his general address to the Commission, has referred to Sri Lanka specifically and has noted that there has been no forward movement at all on questions of accountability, and has in fact demonstrated quite strongly, given that it is a general statement regarding all member countries, of his disappointment. Now, given that backdrop, and given the backdrop in which the previous High Commissioner, 2 High Commissions back, Prince Zaid, made the observation that Sri Lanka as a country cannot be trusted and cannot be entrusted with the duty of carrying out a meaningful and an impartial inquiry into crimes that had been committed during the war. In his reasoning, he said that the state structure, not only the judiciary, but the state structure in itself, because of the ethnic conflict and the civil war, has been so corrupted that you can't possibly expect a free and fair trial. Now, these are observations Honorable Deputy Chairman of Committees, that goes to the very core of what we are discussing here today. Because if the system that is supposed to implement these laws in itself is considered to be so corrupted, then these laws obviously cannot therefore, by extension, be implemented with the intention of what the international community or the right-thinking people in this country who genuinely wish for there to be a just system could possibly expect. Now that is the fundamental problem. Take a good example, Honorable Presiding Member. We have a Minister for Public Security. Now with regards to an incident that took place on the 2nd of June, which concerns me, and because it was blown up in the media and it got a lot of publicity, when the minister was asked in one of the government's press conferences regarding the incident, he immediately stated to the press that he was going to call for a full report from the police and that he expects that report to be presented to him on the 5th. Now that, in the face of it, is correct, because even though he is the public security Minister for Public Security, he obviously doesn't control the police. Police's functions are supposed to be entirely independent. It is supposed to be entirely free from political interference. So rightly, if there was some issue, and since it was a high-profile issue, he quite correctly at that stage asked for a report. But then what does he do? On the 8th of June, when I came here to this house and made a statement, and on the 9th of June, when my colleague, Mr. Selvaraja Gajendran, asked the minister whether in fact that report that he asked for to be submitted on the 5th has been received by him and whether he has gone through it, he admitted to this house that he had not received it, that the report is not complete. But without batting an eyelid, the minister then stands in front of us in this house, goes on to defend the police. Now, why would a minister who, if he was not in fact directly involved in pressurizing the police to act in a certain way, because I am a political opponent and a severe critic of this government, why would he have to jump the gun even before he got the report that he had asked for into his hand and read it to defend the police in that way? Why would such a person behave in that way if not for him actually being the person behind the police's conduct? This is the true nature, unfortunately, of the culture. It's not only the Minister for Public Security who has done this. All members of all governments are accused of this. This is not something new.
You have 2 more minutes.
Honorable Presiding Member. And not only that, witnesses with regards to that incident are continuing to be harassed. Witnesses, possible witnesses, are being harassed. Today, a journalist who had reported on the incident has been called before the Kilanuchi police. Thambithure Pradeepan. This journalist actually is a critic of our party. He has criticized our party simply because he had reported something which hurts the police. He is today being called. Potentially as a suspect. Now this is the culture, Honorable Presiding Member, that this country has galvanized over the years to almost a perfection that its credibility, even when you have laws that you enact, is so low that all of these are seen as just merely box-ticking exercises.